Good afternoon, class. Today I'm going to be talking about collaborative autoethnography. And I'm going to go about it by breaking down the word collaborative autoethnography, and I'm going to explain it that way. And then I'm going to connect it to, that's going to be based on the article that I sent to everybody called Living Autoethnography, Connecting Life and Research. That explains the theory, and then we're going to connect that to the other article that I sent everybody called Bella's Story about sexual exploitation in sports. So, just to get on with it, I'm going to write down the word. So we're going to start with not that part, nor not that way. I'm going to do it this way. Just changed my mind. So, autoethnography. Oh, that's supposed to be an H. So, autoethnography means many things, and here's one of them. The auto part is the focus on the self. Okay, so the focus on the self. Ethno is the study of culture. And graphy is the methods that we use to collect the data and analyze. So I'm just going to refer to the paper here. The auto part, by using the self as the research topic, it allows you as a researcher to analyze your own experiences in a different way than you could if you were otherwise being interviewed. So it allows you to connect with society in that way as well, because you're telling your story and you're writing it down, and the collaborative part will come later, which makes it a little bit easier. So the self is basically your own experiences. You're sharing your own experiences. And then the ethno part is where you're connecting other people to your experiences by sharing your story. So other people may have similar stories, and which will allow them to connect in unique ways, because they're going to be similar but not the same. So, so that's it. Yeah. So, so that's that part. So this allows you to connect. To connect yourself and make it more meaningful. So the graphy part being the methods kind of connects all of this together in a sense. There's many different ways that you can approach this, the methods of collaborative ethnography. The article mentions a few, actually, and let's see here, where are the two? So we have the sequential model, which is where the autoethnographer writes their story and they pass it on to another researcher and they analyze it and add their story to it. And the other one that I just is called the concurrent model. And actually, I just made just a tiny little mistake in the other one, in the sequential one. it's actually, okay, so I'm just going to correct that. So, so the sequential model is where, let's say for example, you have 3 researchers. One researcher will write their story, pass it on to the next researcher, and they will write their story and connect it to yours, and then you will pass it on to the next researcher, and so on. So that will take place depending on how many researchers there are. That's sequential. But the concurrent is more independence, where the autoethnographer will basically do an autobiographical writings, and then pass it on to another researcher, where they will, or they'll pass it on to somebody else, and they'll examine it and either add another story, or they will get together and collaborate on the story that the autobiography was. So that's that. So now, the collaborative part was just basically seen in the methods part, the area that I showed. So the collaborative part of collaborative autoethnography, let's see if, oops, right there, is kind of the glue that brings it all together. So in Bella's story is a very good example of collaborative autoethnography. Bella's story brings together 3 researchers. One of them is Bella herself. She was a 13-year-old girl that was sexually exploited by her coach. And she had a very strong interest in getting her story out. And she had a friend, and her name was Helen, and Helen Oton. She's one of the main researchers. So Helen and Bella have been friends for a long time. Bella was very interested in expressing her story. So the tricky part was bringing Andrew Sparks in for a few different reasons. But one of them is he didn't know Bella, but he did know Helen. So it worked out that well. It worked out well that way. Because Helen and Bella were long-term friends, and Andrew and Helen were colleagues in university. So that helped with Bella expressing her story and not having to go through any discomfort by having Andrew, that researcher, with her going through it. He wasn't present. They made a deal that Bella would share her stories through poems and stories with Helen, and then Helen would put them together in an academic form and give it to Andrew, who would offer the academic, ethical part of her story. So you can see that there are some power differences there in the collaborative part of autoethnography, where Andrew was a male, which could have caused an issue, but since they collaborated, they took care of that by by Andrew being at a bit of a distance from Bella. And mind you, Bella was very much of a voluntary participant. She wanted her story to get out. So let's see what else we have here. I'm not sure what else to say about it, but I think that I'm going to close on that one. And thank you very much for listening. I'm right at the 10-minute mark. Have a great day, everybody, and thank you for watching.